As the name suggests, the flag check node lets you evaluate the value of a flag. So first let's select the flag that we would like to evaluate. Once the value of the flag has been set, we can evaluate it. We just need to choose which kind of evaluation to perform: greater than, less than, equal to, not equal to, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. So let's just use a basic greater than, and we'll do greater than 2. In this case, faction would be set 1 to 5, and if you haven't watched the video on flags, please watch that video before this one. Once the faction has been set, it will be checked here. If the value of faction is greater than 2, it would go through the true path. If it was equal to or less than, in this case, it would go to the false path. You can also compare the value of one flag to another by setting the value type to variable instead of constant. And like with the flag setting, you can also determine if you want to have a value multiplier or an offset here. So in this case, I'm checking to see if the value of faction is greater than 200% the value of my flag. I would have to set the value of my flag first if I want that to work. So in this case, it would be if the faction is greater than 2. Note that you can disable false output for a flag check. Be careful when doing this, because if this branch were to lead to if faction greater than 1 and it were not true, the game would simply end here, as there is no way for that branch to progress. However, flag checks with disable false outputs enabled can be very useful for presenting the player with an option that they would have not normally had they not actually had that flag checked. So let's look at how this works. We have a challenge here in which the player looks around and they may discover a ladder if they succeed at that roll. So we set the ladder discovered to 1. Then they're presented with the choice of which way to go. Normally they would only be able to go forward or left, but if they discovered the ladder, which we're checking here, they are also presented with the option to go up. So in this example, we're going to look at how we can quickly create a crafting system by using these flag checks with their disable false output and consume value if true checked on. If we're consuming the value of true, once this is passed, we're actually going to, as it implies, consume the value of that flag. In other words, if it says if wood is greater or equal to 1, in this case, if the value of wood is greater than 1 and metal is greater than 2, we can craft a sword. In this case, if the wood is greater than 2, metal is greater than 1, we can craft a shield, and if we have 3 or more metal, we can craft armor. We also provide a done crafting option in case none of these values are met, because as you remember, if they have their disable false output on and the game does not encounter any valid paths, the game will actually end at that point. So we always want to provide an out whenever we have all of our false outputs disabled. This is just a really convenient way to be able to combine a check with a flag set. You can also do it in the following fashion. So as you can see here, I'm checking to see if we have 3 or more metal. If so, I'm consuming or reducing metal by 3 as we craft the armor. Remember that you can add the changes here so that the player knows that you're going to be consuming 3 metal in order to craft this armor. Once you master flag checks and random nodes, you're well on your way to programming your own games. Be sure to check out the video on flags or the random node if you haven't already done so.